Think about this for a second. Every single time you click a link, fire off an email, or even just stream a video, you're sending these little packets of data out into the huge, wild world of the internet. So, the big question is, who's standing at the door to your network, checking the ID on all that traffic?
Well, that's where Firewall comes in. And honestly, the best way to picture a firewall is to think of it as your network's own personal digital bouncer. Yep, that's right, the tough but totally fair security guard standing right there at the velvet rope of your entire digital life. So our bouncers post is right here. See? On one side, you've got your private network. This is all your trusted stuff. Your computer, your phone, you name it. And on the other side, the public internet. The firewall is that absolutely critical line of defense, that gatekeeper, standing right in between the two. Okay, so what's its job exactly? Well, the textbook definition is pretty straightforward. It's basically a system that's designed to let all the safe traffic pass right through, while restricting or just flat out denying anything that looks unsafe. Sounds simple enough, right? But here's the catch. Just like real-world bouncers, firewalls come in different flavors, each with their own special set of skills. All right, let's start with the most basic one of them all. We're going to call this one the list checker. Think of it as your classic no-nonsense bouncer whose one and only job is to check the guest list. So this list checker, its main gig is something called packet filtering, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It looks at every single tiny packet of data and just checks two simple things. The from address, that's the source, and the to address, that's the destination. If those addresses are on the approved list, boom, the packet gets in. If they're not, it's denied. Simple as that. Now, to get a little more specific, this guest list has a few key details it's looking for. First, you have the source and destination IP addresses. That's basically the digital from and to on an envelope. Then it checks the protocol type, like is this regular web traffic or something else. And finally, it looks at port numbers, which are kind of like specific doorways into a building, for different services. So, what's the upside to this? Well, the big pro is that it is incredibly fast. There's almost no overhead. But, and this is a big but, the downside is pretty significant. Because this bouncer is only checking those surface-level details, it can get tricked by a fake ID. Hackers have a name for this. They call it IP spoofing. It's where they basically disguise malicious traffic so it looks like it's coming from a source you already trust. But you know what? Speed isn't everything, especially when it comes to security. This kind of basic check just isn't always enough. I mean, what if somebody who's on the guest list is trying to bring something dangerous inside? What if the conversation itself is the real problem? And that brings us to our next level of security, a much smarter, more observant type. Let's call this one the connection cop. This is a circuit-level firewall, and this one, it's way less about checking individual IDs and way more about watching the whole interaction. And right there, that's the key difference. See, the connection cop doesn't really bother with inspecting every single little data packet. Instead, it focuses on validating the connection itself. It watches that initial handshake between two computers when they first try to talk. It's all about making sure the connection is legit before any real conversation gets going. So how does it pull this off? Well, it basically acts as a relay, a kind of middleman. It sets up two separate connections, one connection to you on the inside and a completely different one to the outside world. The brilliant part about this is that it completely hides your internal network's identity. From the internet's perspective, it's only ever talking to the firewall, never directly to you. That's a huge security boost. Okay, but what if you need the absolute highest level of security? For that, you're going to need more than a list checker or a cop. For that, you need a personal bodyguard, and that's where application-level firewalls come in. Now, this kind of firewall is also known as a proxy server, and you can really think of it as the ultimate intermediary. It doesn't just glance at your ID, it doesn't just watch the handshake, no, it does everything for you, acting completely on your behalf. Let me walk you through how this bodyguard works. Step 1. You make a request. You tell the firewall, hey, I want to go to this website. Step 2. The firewall, your bodyguard, inspects that request. It understands, okay, this is a web browsing request. Then step 3 is the magic part. The firewall makes the connection to the internet for you. It goes out, gets the data, inspects it for anything dangerous, and only then does it bring it back to you. The key here is that you never, ever make direct contact with the public internet. And this is where the real power of the bodyguard comes in. Because it actually understands specific applications, like web browsing or file transfers, it can enforce some incredibly detailed rules.
For instance, with FTP, which is the file transfer protocol, it could be set up to allow you to download files, that's a GET command, but completely block you from uploading files, a PUT command. That level of super-specific, granular control is what gives you the absolute highest level of security possible.
Of course, there's always a trade-off, right? It's the classic battle, security versus speed. Having this personal bodyguard that inspects every single thing coming and going is amazingly secure, but it can also slow things down a bit. All that deep inspection takes time and processing power, and yeah, that can sometimes affect your network's performance.
So, let's recap. We've met the super-fast list checker, the more observant connection cop, and the ultimate bodyguard. But how does this all fit together in the real world? And more importantly, why should you care? Here's the thing. In the real world, great security isn't about picking just one of these bouncers. It's about using them all in a layered defense. Think about it. Modern networks use a combination. You might have that fast list checker right at the edge of your network, and then a super thorough bodyguard protecting your most important, most critical servers. It's all about creating security in depth. And you know, the payoff for getting this right is just massive. We're not just talking about stopping attacks. A really well-designed firewall strategy is what allows companies to safely connect offices all over the globe, to cut way down on operational costs, and, maybe most importantly right now, to securely support this huge shift to remote work that we're all a part of.
So when you think about it, from your own personal laptop all the way up to the biggest corporate networks on the planet, your data is one of your most valuable assets. So I'll leave you with one final question. It's simple, but it's absolutely crucial. Who are you trusting to be its gatekeeper?